All right, Mike Piercy, you're here. As I said, I have no clue what I'm going to say, but I
It's
know it's
all
going to be fun, man.
good. Something's gonna happen, right? It doesn't
Something's
matter.
going to happen. And it was awesome, by the way, was I met Mike at Idea World. It was our first time meeting. We were sitting at this table. I was like, I don't know who Mike Piercy is, but I love this guy. He seems like a great guy to me.
I, I felt the same. The feeling's mutual, brother.
Right. I mean, you were digging in on Eugene, man. That was funny.
Eugene, I love. You know your family treats you worse than anybody.
Yeah,
But
that's
they're not
right.
gonna let nobody else do you wrong. But
Yeah.
you. That's next year. It's you.
Yeah,
Next year,
yeah, it's me. Next year it's me. Yeah, we're gonna have history, and that's how it's gonna work.
it's
Like,
all good. It's all good.
well, you know what's interesting? I wanted to speak with you after that because I love the things you were talking about and your perspective and kind of the jokiness. I thought, oh, this he's a good guy. I gotta learn more about this guy. So, where are you from? Man, you're in New Jersey. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, I'm a Jersey boy, born and bred. Been all over. Traveled, played baseball for a while, and kind of been around the world. But it's like home is home, right? So I'm a Jersey boy, born and bred. Hillside, Irvington, New Jersey.
Big shout
Um,
out.
big shout out. You got to shout your spots out, right?
Shout
Everybody's
it
like,
out.
yeah,
Come
we
on.
listen, we listening. Yeah, so home, run a performance facility here in Fairfield, New Jersey, which is up the way outside of where I'm from. And just essentially work with athletes every day. You know what I mean? Because growing up, Hillside, Irvington, really didn't have access to a lot of this stuff. It's always been, kind of a passion, even with athletics, just trying to get better, trying to figure out how to do. We're from a different era, right? The
Yeah. Oh,
iron
for
was,
sure.
yeah, whatever ball you had, that was what we played that
That's
day.
right.
You had a football, we played baseball. You had a football, we played football. It's different nowadays. It's the coach for the coach that they had from the coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's much different. So yes, that's kind of like a little bit of backstory. We can dig in,
Yeah,
however.
yeah. How have you adjusted to today's athlete? What's different about today's athlete versus yesteryear's athlete, in your opinion?
Ooh, I love you already,
Here we
Doctor G.
go, baby.
Already, he's like, yeah. He said that's a great question. The difference in today's athlete, it's much you know, our facility, we really try to center on long-term athletic development, which is I like to say is not a super popular process. It's a popular process within our field because we know what it is. But nowadays, it's almost like this great weapons race. I describe it to my training,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, I got to have nuclear weapons because you got nuclear weapons. And when I say that, to extrapolate it to like kids and parents, it's almost like we need to always be doing something. Oh, let me silence this bad boy. It's like we always need to be doing something. We have a coach for hitting, we have a coach for this, and the schedules are just insane. So the difference is, for us growing up, it's like, well, we heard the old heads when we grew up. They tell you, yeah,
Yeah.
we walked 7,000 miles.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I find myself now. I'm like, yeah, the overall athlete almost. It's very seldom that exists the way that
Hmm.
it existed when we saw like a Bo Jackson and a Deion
Right.
Sanders and things like that. Because and Dion had a great post the other day when he was talking about why those athletes don't exist anymore. And it's because it's the belief that if I'm not hitting every day, if I'm not shooting every day all day long, that I'm not specializing, that somehow I'm losing ground. When in actuality, we know overtraining is a real thing,
That's
right?
exactly right.
Yeah, and it's like when we look at it, there's a need to kind of learn and possess different skills, and that was the one thing. It's like when you see an athlete that's played football, I cringe now when I hear a parent say, "Oh, I don't want my son to play football."
I know.
Well, I get it. Understand you don't want his head get knocked off, but the thing is, there's a lot of things you learn. I'm always a proponent that team athletes are different than individual
Most
athletes, and
definitely.
in their adult life, because as a team athlete, you know how to you at times you have to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of the team, you know. In an individual thing, it's really, centered upon what I'm doing and how I'm preparing the things that I'm doing, you know. So that when I look at it, does when we just to kind of drive it back to the original question, um, you don't see that well-rounded skill set so much anymore. And then you look at it and you'll say, well, how can you not? But they don't really, because I've been hitting so much or pitching so much. And then it's a whole nother conversation when you get into injuries and overuse injuries and kids, not loving their sport by the time they reach levels,
yes.
because it's just been, that's a whole nother conversation in itself.
I mean, for sure. I mean, I've actually seen that with a lot of clients who've been athletes, like at that point, especially late high school and things, they just don't like it. They just have been inundated with so much skill development through all the different coaching. It's like it's a transactional business essentially, and it's not fun anymore.
Yeah. And then there was an article the other day just about the cost of it. Like for us, we didn't
Yeah,
thinking, you could go to Little League and play, and maybe it might have costed your parents $30.
that's exactly right.
Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, like this whole youth athletics, from
Wow.
the AAU teams to trainers to coaches. It's like you get a parent that has a 9-year-old that walks in now. It's like, oh, I want him to work speed agility, like speed agility.
Yeah.
You just roll the ball and run around.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's much different, but it's because you're looking at it's a results-based mentality, right? Because it's interesting because they want to win in Little League. For me, my memories of Little League are like just, kind of making jokes and being, I wanted to win MVP, but nobody remembers, nobody cares who won the Little League MVP.
No.
It's like, oh, that's it. So it's an interesting, it's a very interesting kind of preset for us now.
Yeah. It makes me think though, how have you changed from if I was beginning Michael Piercy to now Michael Piercy? Who was that guy?
Wow. That would be, depends on what the beginning. If you say beginning in the industry, I started in the industry super young age. Like
okay.
15. So, I mean, as a coach now, I say I know where I want to live as far as training and things like that. And we could go into that. That could be a whole nother podcast. But when we look at it, it's like, I think the hardest thing that you learn as a coach later on is like, I don't need to be all things to all people. So I don't do that anymore. I know where I want to live at this point. Like I love doing like, I'll do general pop, like boot camps and stuff like that at a conference. But, for the most part here, I'm more of I like to work with the athletes. And then, for me, pros, I love it if I get my pros, and I love my pros that I've had. We've done some great things, but I really love, for me, the changes. I realize that I really feel enriched by working with the youth, high school, college athletes, because I'm seeing the growth as a human being too, and that's important to me. It's any kid that came in and jumped on right now, they'll tell you one of the major conversations that I'll have with them. It's like, listen, I don't get anything from you being successful, really. I've had my career, and I think that's everybody thinks their dad is the best. I think my dad was one of the best parents because it really wasn't about that in my house, because my dad played,
Right.
So I never had the feeling that he was living through me, that he needed me to be successful. I never felt like love was conditional. So that's one of the reasons, like, so I'm kind of unique is I have a background in baseball. I play baseball at a high level. I don't do any skill specific stuff. I like to have kids and work performance and things like that. That way, if I'm yelling at Darian, if he's coming in, it's because it's trying to make you better. It's not because you didn't get the bunt down, because you didn't hit the home run. It's not because you didn't make the shot. It's not because you didn't score the touchdown. It has zero to do with that. It has to do, it's a human being type of base thing, and I want you to be the best you can be. It doesn't, I don't get a whole lot from, hey, you went off to whatever school or your Division I, Division III, or whatever it is. It's really, I like to have a facility that's based on athlete comfort. They come through the door knowing, hey, we're gonna work, but this is a place, it's a safe zone for me, boy, girl, or different. You know what I mean? And I take pride in that.
What's the difference you see maybe emotionally in athletes now versus maybe in the past, with the digital age in mind and social media?
Ooh, you got great questions.
I'm telling you, I come ready. I come ready, like mentally thinking, but I don't plan a thing, man. It's off the top of the dome right here.
You do this.
I do this. This is what I do, Michael.
I love it. We could go all day.
All day.
That's a great question. Because when we're talking about mental health, right? And you're talking about the difference mentally. Mental health is a hot button topic wherever you go, and it's a very eggshelly thing. because it's what you say is, and it's real. Stress is real, to a point where you have to prepare. I try to prepare athletes for certain things, right? And then mental health is a real thing. And if you need somebody to talk to and you need to do stuff like that, there's people out there, and that's stuff, that's help you should get. And we all know that, you've had people take, it's from like gymnastics, like that, thing where you have a perennial gold medalist. We all watch this, like,
Right.
I have the twisties and I don't know what the hell is going to happen. That's stuff that's real. But we also have to be very cognizant of the fact that there are some inherent elements in sport that we have to be like, I don't know if people ever get comfortable with them. Goes back to the different elements. I always think, and this is one of those things where somebody will say, no, it's not true. As an athlete, I feel like you're supposed to get booed at times.
Yeah.
You're gonna get booed. All right. That's right. Yeah, you're gonna get booed. And sometimes as an athlete, when you go to high level, you should get booed.
Yeah.
There's sometimes that
of course.
I should be getting booed right now because you know what I mean. I stink right now. But there is also space to where things are overwhelming in life, and now because we have to be, I think, old school. I think if my dad was around, he'd be like, he was like, to rub some dirt on it, guys. And
that's right.
Don't rub it when you get hit. But we didn't. Also, we have to respect the fact that we didn't have all day long walking around with people's opinions in our pocket, and if we open ourselves to it, we know it as fitness professionals, right? Or as coaches, like, hey, listen, you can post an exercise. You got 4 guys that jump on that are like with a cat for a picture, and he's like, oh, you could blow your knees out. You're like, kick rocks. But it's when you get to that point, there is a measurement of overwhelmingness.
Yeah.
Because people have access to you on another level than what we had. When I was playing, the access ended at the stadium doors, right?
That's right.
Up until the point that I walked out with my bag and got to the car. If you saw me in the parking lot, it was a different story.
Sure.
Like now we got a problem.
That's right.
Nowadays, you're looking at social media where it's, people can give you their opinions. And then as you move up to higher levels, you become susceptible to more people who basically have no lives or whatever other than criticize and, things like that. So it's not an easily navigatable thing for people, and it's even on the smallest levels and scales for us, it can be tough. So I think that it's a preparation thing up to a certain point. So for me, I always think like you're going to have certain things that fans are, if we look at that mental aspect, you're going to have certain things. Not to mention, I'm talking about fans a good amount, but performance anxiety. Parents and pressures and things like that. It's hard to navigate now because it's a very results-based culture. It really is. And it's starting at very young ages. I didn't have any pressure like growing up to win a Little League championship.
No.
Or to get hits because it was really because that was what I really loved to do. And I would rather spend no other time doing that. I think we're an interesting like generation because we saw the evolution of video games, right? Yeah. From like Nintendo all the way up.
Oh man.
You can't believe it now. Like you saw the evolution of it. But for us, that was a nighttime thing, right?
That was a nighttime thing. Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like, but now it's just so much that it's now, it's so different. It's just a very different thing to look at.
And you made me think about something that I'm really curious about your point of view on this. I'm telling you, I struggle with this, Michael, is like in mental health. It's certainly a real thing. And we need to spend more time in it. But how do you ride the line between someone has an issue going on, but then also like, hey, this is part of the game. Like maybe you're just not cut out for this. Maybe your best isn't good enough. And maybe but how do you say that without saying, hey, you maybe have a weak constitution for this. You don't have you don't have the stomach for it, type of thing. But dealing with the real issue, how do you navigate that with people? Because there are some things that, like you said, getting booed. Okay, if you don't like being booed, this happens. I can't shield you from this without you just not playing. you know, like, or even if you're there, I don't know. How do you deal with that?
My thing is, we understand that certain things are, you try to communicate that certain things are inherent and part of the job. And that's where and that's why I run into issues sometimes when you start discussing it, because certain things for us, even as coaches or as a host and things like that, it's a given that you're going to ask questions and somebody's going to have things to say. At the point where you get upset because I said something or answered the question in a way that wasn't, the way that you wanted me to answer, it becomes a question of whether this is a mental health issue or whether you just aren't cut out. This is not the job for you. You know what I mean? Because that's not, it's, it goes in, firefighters, if, going into a smoky building is part of the job. You know what I mean? And it's a given, not a good given, that you might not come home on some of those jobs and things like that. As an athlete, I think that I worry about these issues, I think is a better way to put it, when you can't do the very elements of the job. And one of the things is you're not going to be so great sometimes. That's part of sport. You know what I mean? And you're going to have to answer questions about the fact that you're not so good. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Okay.
Tony Romo was my favorite quarterback.
Are you serious? Oh, man.
And I'll tell you, I love his story. He had a great story. How did we get to Tony Romo, right? But he's got a great story. He was a third-string quarterback. We don't have to go through all his things, right? But we can, without mentioning the names of some of the people that we've seen, if you're a sports fan, right?
Right.
But one thing I always respect about him is he had this reputation for being a choke artist, which was absolutely not true. Because if you look at leading comebacks and all the stats, validate the fact that that's absolutely untrue. But the one thing is, as a Cowboys fan, Jerry Jones is the greatest salesman of all time.
Of course.
Okay, so every year you come in feeling like this is the year we're going to go over the top. This is the year we're going to win it. And then every year with him, something would happen. But every year he sat at that podium, whether it drove you nuts or not, and he stood and he took whatever you gave him. He answered the questions, and nobody feels worse about it than that guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he stood and he answered the questions and stuff like that. There's some people that I always will love Serena.
Right.
Serena doesn't like any questions you ask her.
It's true.
But she sits and she doesn't, it doesn't matter. You can say, oh, well, Serena, what's your middle name? I don't know why. Yeah. And that's great. So if she ever watches this, it's great. But that's part of the job. You know what I mean? And I think that that's tough, because when you get to points where you don't, obviously nobody likes to get booed. You don't want your family, people to make names up for you. But that's what they do. That's what they bought their ticket. Like they don't have a right to touch you. Don't have the right to call you, derogatory things that, words that we know that we don't want people to use. Of course. But if, they call you strikeout king and you struck out 10 times in a row and you don't want your family should stay home. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Either they don't need to come or I need to play better, because you know what I mean? That's
play better.
Yeah. But it's not popular to say that now, but that's part of my job.
Yes.
And so they cross the line. But there is also a space for, if you are overwhelmed by the responsibilities of it, yes, this job might not be for you, and you might need to, do some different things. But I don't know, sometimes when it comes to mental health, I'm not qualified to tell you whether you have that, what to give you that. What I can do is I can line up. These are what I believe, these are the qualities of the job.
Right.
For us as a fitness professional, as a strength and conditioning coach, there's qualifications. When I post a job, application or a job posting, these are the qualities of the job, so that's when we get into really murky areas. And I think nowadays it's not really a popular thing to talk about.
Yes.
And then the truth of the matter is, the tough thing is, you be the old head that's blaming everything on social media. But the thing is, social media is a very lethal component of it, because once again, it doesn't end at the stadium. It doesn't end at the park. It's how much do you open yourself up today?
Yeah.
I think that's, you can limit that, but once you get involved in that and once you participate, I think that you open yourself up for a lot of things, because it can be good, but then it can be really bad at times, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
if you start to internalize that without help, we've seen the bad things that can happen from people.
Yeah.
Just someone's opinion can make you not want to be hanging around anymore. And that's not
Right.
fun. Yeah.
It's just a slippery slope, man. I like to talk about it because I think we just avoid stuff that we think there's going to be some jeopardy involved in it, especially in what we do. But like the thing that always is kind of difficult, because if someone blows out their ACL, you see it, you know what's going on. It's very concrete. They're not playing for a while. But if someone has something going on mentally, it's hard to tell if it's okay. This is going to sound bad. It's hard to tell if it's real or not, honestly. And or if someone's like, listen, I'm just like in the tank, I'm going through some stuff, but are they? I know this sounds bad, me saying it, but
it
it's,
doesn't sound bad.
You know what I mean?
Because of the culture that we have.
The culture is making it sound like we have to give every single thing is a huge problem. But we never discuss whether people have weird tendencies. Humans are weird, man. And sometimes we have legitimate things, and sometimes we take legitimate things and make them part of a thing to give us an excuse. I'm not saying this is everybody. I'm just saying, don't you think there's some people doing that? Like, I mean, everybody can't always be suffering from this thing, and not no one's abusing it. Are you kidding me?
No, come on. No, you're absolutely right.
But how do you know?
You don't. The thing is,
That's
don't.
The problem.
You really don't, and it's very true. I think that up to a certain point, we work on the honor system, right?
Right.
That we work on the honor system until we don't have, the other information. And the tough thing is we have professionals to kind of deal with it, but I do think you're completely accurate in what you're saying. It's just not a popular thing for people to say, because it's very popular to be the other way and say, hey, everything. And then sometimes that's where I draw the line is I can't tell, like you said, I can't tell if it's subjective. It's very subjective.
Yes.
Right. But I draw the line that if you can't do the specific requirements of the job, and that's, to show up, to play, to do things like that. I mean, if you can't, hitting free throws with 2 seconds on the clock is part of the job, man.
It's part of the job.
Yeah, if that's what it is, that's part of the job. You got to be able to do it. Like, we can't not shoot free throws and be like,
I don't know if you're running away from the ball constantly, it's like
it's a much different thing. So it's, but I think that when we look at it, you said the great word is humans, right? So as humans, it's beholden on us to try to help you through it,
Yeah.
But at some point, we have to say, I think in that situation, we got to say, this is not where you should be right now.
Yeah.
I think that this should be a priority. That way we remove that component of frustration that we have because we need you to perform.
Yeah.
We're not getting the performance that we want. And maybe you would like to, if it's like you said, when it's real, they want, that person wants to be doing it more so than anybody, right?
Yeah.
But that might not be specifically where you need to be. And I think that that's where you get to that point where this may or may not be cut out. But it's like, I think that's a decision that you and the professional have to make.
Right.
But I think that removing you from this environment that's not for you, is the best thing for us to do, right? To try to although, because once again, in this culture, everybody, it seems as though, everybody's wanting something, when you have these youth athletes coming through, it's like, it's refreshing probably for a kid to be somewhere and just be like, this person doesn't want anything from me.
Right.
Want me to be the best I could be.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so much that it can be like so much involved into this one persona that you have, right? That's the basketball player, that's the football player, that's the baseball player. That, half of the people that you are enveloped in don't even know you as a human if you weren't, making jump shots or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sense where you can kind of see, hey, this is real, because I know Darian, he's never done something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like us watching Will Smith.
Right. Okay. Right.
It's like us watching Will Smith because we grew up with Will Smith.
That's true.
Right? So
That's
we know
true.
Will Smith is about as buttoned down as you could possibly
Right.
be. If he got out of the seat and slapped the shit out of you, then
Right. Like what's going on in Will Smith's life? Like this is
yeah,
an abnormal behavior.
there you go.
Right.
At that point, I think that that's the perfect like scenario to look at. Because
Yeah.
what do you need to do? You need to not be at an award show anymore, fellas.
Right.
You need to be over here because something is popping off over here.
Something's popping off, man.
If we don't, and then it's the one thing where you have everybody's opinion, right? So you got one, subset of people that are like, oh, yes, it's great. He stuck up for his wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got this other subset of people that are like, it's just jokes, man. And then you got
Right.
this other subset of people like, oh, it's just the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not
Yeah.
like something that we should ever see people do.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to look at this person. I think that's that's your red flag, right? When you see uncharacteristic behavior
Love
of
that.
possibly somebody who's stuck into something that they need some. But in that situation, it takes people to say, hey, listen, this is probably not where you should be right now.
Right. That's the hard part, though. Like, without being ostracized for it and go, don't you know I have an issue? I mean, like, I know, but like, how do we handle this delicately and be honest? And I just want to have honest conversations about these topics and not make them so concrete.
Yeah,
Very few things are concrete. Like, there's a nuance to this mental health discussion that we're just not trying to have with people.
Yeah, and I think that that's one thing when we look at that was we kind of backed into that, but when you look at it, that's that mental health issue, like the Will Smith thing. You see all the angles that people will come
right.
from. It was the first time I've ever seen that where nobody's wrong. Like everybody,
right.
You have people who have alopecia, like alopecia gang. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, okay, like
right, cool, all right.
I get it. Like I'm not gonna say, but
yeah,
you don't know. You absolutely don't know. But you do know one thing. This is an uncharacteristic thing for a person that
that's right.
Don't know really what's happening here. Something not so great is happening right now. We're watching it, right?
Yeah.
Because, it's like, and then you're like, all right, there's this spiral going on.
Yeah.
But that's, that if we take that and we put that into the regular, circumstances or just not even regular elite athlete or athlete.
Yeah.
That's someone, it's like, all right, well, this behavior is not characteristic of this person that I know.
Right.
This is some uncharacteristic stuff.
Think like an Aaron Judge, right? Who everybody's loving, right? Seems to be a very put together, wonderful human being. If he slapped the shit out of somebody, you'd be like, something's going on in Aaron Judge's life. Yeah, we got to explore this. Maybe, because, I don't know.
Well, because the thing is about that is, you just said one character thing that's completely on point. Like we love him right now.
Right now. That's true.
Yeah, that's
people love Tiger Woods too for a while.
People love Tiger Woods. People love Mike Tyson.
True.
People, you watch The Last Dance. People love Michael Jordan. He could do no wrong until later on, things that and people then they come for you. You know what I mean?
And they come for you.
They come for you. It's that great. I don't know if you ever watched the Allen Iverson documentary.
Yes, I did. So good.
One of the greatest documentaries ever. I watched it.
Amazing.
But he's sitting on the Arsenio Hall show or something with somebody, and it's the one thing he just goes on this kind of rant. And he's like, listen, people love you now, but they are waiting. He's like, they are waiting. And then it's the truth. It's like, all right, yeah, you love be the darling, but
right.
Yeah, but right now that would be something that you would look at and you would say, oh, is this some type of mental thing going on? I think that's the best way. It might possibly be the only way for you to judge it, to judge it against their regular behavior and different things that they do.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to think about that. I have a very serious question for you.
Yes,
very serious. What do you make of Jerry Jones saying he hopes there's a quarterback controversy between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott?
I love it. I actually love it. You know why I love it? Because I love an underdog story.
I love that.
I love an underdog. That's why I love Tony Romo. Because Tony Romo is a third string dude who wasn't drafted, and you go on to this amazing, run, ride it, and it's real. I'm a Cowboys fan. Nobody would suspect that Cooper Rush would be doing what he's doing right now.
All he does is win.
All he does is win.
That's all he does is win, man.
And it's a funny thing is like if you ever been on a team and you have like a backup person or something like that, everybody rallies because it's just a good energy, right?
Right.
Somebody, people love the underdog until you're the champion.
That's right.
That's the thing people hate about Tom Brady the most is Tom Brady's done nothing to nobody other than maybe his wife right now.
Right. There's a lot going on.
But other than that, he's really guilty of one thing. He wins too much.
He wins too much.
So now you want to see it. They want to see him get punched in the face. You want to see him lose. You want to see him go down. But he's guilty of nothing else. That's the only thing he's guilty of is he wins too much. He's always winning. He was winning at life. He's got a supermodel. He's got kids.
Yeah.
He's got houses. He's got this. He's that guy. But that's so. I think Cooper Rush is a great thing. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Dak comes back if Dak loses.
Right. Then you're going to see something popping off, man.
Now you're going to see something popping off. People are going to be like, get him out of there.
Right.
People are not patient, when they see certain things. So it's interesting. So I actually like that story. I think, it's good because it's, the guy's back up sitting around forever and it's good. The backup quarterback's not exactly the most comfortable spot.
Right.
Because if you actually go in, you are the backup. If you don't perform, you won't be the backup anymore.
Right. Dak should know about this. He was the backup, man. It's like he unseated Tony Romo. Like it's this cyclical thing. It feels like almost like you can't. I know Dak's got to be thinking about this. He has to be.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right.
If I'm Dak, I'm like, I got to get back.
And like gripping the ball. He's talking about how what are we talking about gripping the ball? It's like he wants back.
Because if that guy keeps winning and then you come back, you cannot lose after that. Because if he doesn't,
can't lose.
No, if you lose, they're gonna come for you. And all those people that loved you, won't have to love you anymore.
What is that about? You mentioned thing about the winning too much. Why don't people like people who win too much?
Human nature, man. I think.
Yeah.
They want you to be heavyweight champion, but then they want you to get Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made millions of dollars because part of people wanted to see excellence, right? But he learned, I think, when we look at that, he learned something like the 24/7. If you were around,
I watched that. Yeah,
24/7. He learned that there's always a villain and there's always a hero for people, right? And then you can't sell a fight if they're both heroes.
Right.
Because nobody wants to, So you got to be willing to be the villain if you want to, for him, he learned that to be the villain when you fight an Oscar De La Hoya, to be a villain when you fight, because people will show up to watch you lose. They want you to lose.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to pay for this fight, right? If I don't, this dude could actually be the first one to take away your O. So it's like, for him, it's let's build it up. Let's build it up. That's just human nature, right? People want you to win, but once you win, there's a subset of people who are just like, Darian's not that great.
Yeah, it's so funny, right?
It's funny, but it's when you look at that's really what
it is. How it is. Yeah.
This, there was Mike Tyson and he was the heavyweight champion, but then you wanted to see somebody, knock him out,
right.
Oh my gosh, somebody knocked them out, and that's just the way it is. It's like you're on top. When you're on top, somebody wants to see somebody to knock you off, For years, the Patriots, right? Everybody
the dynasty, yeah.
You paid the Patriots because they were just winning. You're like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
They beat them, and then they become like this thing for you.
Yeah, it's true. It makes me think I'm going to transition here. I'll get back to fitness because we could talk football all day. I'm a huge football fan.
All right.
Huge.
Somebody will love it. Somebody
will love this Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott thing. It's actually, I'm loving Cooper Rush. The guy is throwing dimes out there. That's for another thing.
It looks great. The funny thing is when you have these conversations, we see how the podcast ages later on. I love to see.
That's true. It'll be like, ooh.
You're like, ooh, that didn't age well.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Social media again.
Right.
Like, oh, that didn't age well.
But, we were sitting at that table at IDEA in Vegas, and we were having all these big topics we were talking about, And one, I thought I wanted to expand on this with you, just thinking about it, kind of the state of our industry of fitness coaching. And I think you had said something, it was towards the end. I can't remember. And we were talking about social media, and you were like, yeah, but it's not going to end. Like, none of this is going to end. It's going to keep going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we work within this ever growing technology, this digital moving towards metaverse system, this influencer system that is largely great marketing and campaigning that has taken over so much of what the information is in our business? How do we work through that?
I think we got to embrace it. I think, a lot of the talk about social media seems very negative when we do it.
Yeah.
You would get the impression that a lot of us are against it. I'm not against it at all. We wanted, I mean, the thing is, we like to, in our industry, I think sometimes we like to judge how things should be used, according to whatever it is. But it's a tool, that, we might not dig how some people use it or whatever, but it's up to us in our industry. The problem with our industry is we have never put guardrails up.
Right.
Say that this is the people that should participate in our industry because you've earned the right to do that. Now, social media, anybody can do anything.
Right.
But the problem I feel like, and this is where we got into a lot of strong conversations, and I think that we talked about some eggshell topics.
Yeah.
One of the eggshell topics of our industry is like regulation. Nobody wants to really, everybody's got an excuse for why we can't regulate. They sit and they'll give you every excuse. I feel strongly about it because I think that people who have done the work and have spent all this money on education, done things to make themselves better, like you really don't have to do much to enter our industry.
Of course.
So when you have something like a worldwide pandemic and now you're like, we need assistance, people don't respect our industry.
Right.
Because it's like you have all these, what you would, if the medical field was conducted the way we conduct the fitness industry, we would look at these people like witch doctors. Like,
true.
oh, this dude's a witch doctor. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's so interesting, right? Because you look at the performance industry, right? So I'll just look at like the gold standard, I guess, in the performance industry is like CSCS, PES, there's EXO certs and things like that. And obviously cert doesn't make you great at what you do. It's just no different than like having a medical degree doesn't make you a good doctor.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's not but you do need to have a medical degree.
That's right.
The colonoscopy. You know what I mean? I don't,
what do you mean? You don't want somebody off the street doing that for you?
No, that's it, but we laugh because it's so funny.
It's right.
We got dudes who like, and this listen, I'm just gonna straight get real with it. We got dudes that haven't done, the base level of certification, education, anything else, and we're giving them like force plates, reactive tools,
right?
This and yeah, we got this. We're assessment, and this dude's telling you you're this 3 degrees off, and this, and it's not to say, granted, you can't be great, but for us, there needs to be a baseline guardrail to which you can enter our industry.
Yes.
So that we are respected, because otherwise, like, you're giving all these tools. It's like giving a handgun to an infant.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you're just running around shooting stuff.
That's right.
But and once again, doesn't make you good or bad, whatever it is. But there's a baseline to which you can participate. And that, for me, I feel very strongly about that. Some people, I guess, they don't mind it. I feel like what side you're on, it's based on your personal circumstance.
Yeah.
So when we look at social media as a whole, that's the biggest issue with people. It's like, what advice is this person giving? What is, this person giving? It's like you have people online that are not doctors giving medical advice.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
Think of all the COVID cures you had.
It's true, man.
But when we look at it, opinion-wise, is how many people would listen to that. Some people will, but a lot of people are like, that dude's not a doctor.
Yeah.
That dude, and we don't have that in our field so much, where people look at it and say, all right, well, this dude's not licensed. This dude's not licensed.
Yeah.
This, and for us, I think that this is a very real thing. And then back to really, what the element of your question was, I mean, like, social media, I think, is a great thing because you have never had a chance to reach so many people. That's
right.
Great about it. The negative thing about it is you have never had a chance to reach so many people.
You've never, exactly.
You know what I mean? So whether it's good or bad, I often think that, I think that for us as professionals, we want it to be utilized properly, but we can't really, there's no way for us to really regulate that without going back and saying, how can we protect our industry, right? By
Right.
saying we need to have a baseline criteria from which you can participate. Now, a person, it's not going to stop a person from setting up and opening a building
Right.
or wherever it is, but it makes it so that when you walk in, you can say, "Hey, Darian, are you a licensed
Right.
fitness professional, personal trainer, whatever it is?" And you can say no. Now I can make my choice. Do I want to
Right.
stay? Do which doctor tactics? Which you like? Be like, what? All right, yeah, I'm gonna. That's the criteria. But I think that you would have less people that aren't if we did have that. You would have more
Yeah.
people that say, that's one of the hotline topics that we talked about. Strong topics is like you have to do more to be a cosmetologist or more to
Right.
be to do someone's hair than you have to do to actually participate. And you can really hurt people.
You could hurt people.
Not
Yes.
that they can't, but I mean, because you can obviously do some damage there. But I can do some serious damage
Some
to you if
serious
I really
damage.
didn't know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
And that's just a real thing.
The regulation thing for me, I'm like you, I'm a big proponent of it. I just don't know how we get there. Like with all these organizations that you and I are a part of, and we're having all these meetings, we're on all these committees. I'm not saying anything that everybody that I know hasn't heard before. So this is not a hot take, but I don't have like a huge amount of confidence in all these organizations going, you know what? Let's work together and let's make this a completely uniform. So I just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm very wrong about this. I just
No,
don't see
I
it.
don't think you're wrong. I think you can't be wrong because it's an opinion, right? You
Right.
can't be wrong because I don't think you're wrong at all.
I just don't
I think
see it.
yeah, I think that's why we haven't had it because it's bottom line. Where's my bread butter?
Where's my money?
Yeah, where's my money?
Give me my money. That's what it's about.
Exactly. So I think that I think that people, when they look at this regulation thing and they think that people, who discuss this think that somehow the system that we have needs to go away. And that's not my opinion. I don't think that the certification system needs to go away at all.
Right.
I think you have an accreditation system and you have, really big organizations like NASM, ACE, NSCA, ACSM. And in my mind, I think that should be a precursor. It's like you'll get it's almost like I don't know how familiar you are with the wellness board now, where they have the certified registered wellness coaches, right?
Okay.
So you have to go through a program in order to be able to sit for the exam. And I think that that's a great way of looking at where you are with licensure, right? Because it's like you should have to have a certified personal trainer certification to be able to sit for your exam, right?
Right.
And then let them get together and make the test. The information is not going to change based on who you have, and then once again, it doesn't make you good. It makes it so you have to have this in order to participate in our industry. So that way now there is a pay scale. And it's not like, hey, I got a guy down the street that's charging $20 for a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Why is he different than Dr. Darian? Well, you
Right.
just said Dr. Darian. So the thing is,
right.
I've gone the road of where we're trying to do things. So it's like it's a much different focus of looking at it. And that's the conversation that people will have with you. Say, oh, well, certification's a money grab. Well, it's not a money grab.
It's all a money grab.
Going to college is a money grab.
Yeah, of course it is. Like
you pay $1 gazillion. That's why you had the whole big furor about like forgiveness of these loans.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, when I went to go get a small business loan, it wasn't like going to get a college loan.
No.
They set me in there with my 20-year-old self, 17-year-old self, and I signed a paper. They gave me thousands of dollars.
Right.
Like, oh, this is great. Don't have to worry about it anymore. You can just sign here. You're good.
Yeah.
You're paying it for the rest of your life, but it's all good.
It's all good.
You know what I'm saying? It's much different. But for me, I think that's what it is. You have to, when we start talking about social media, I think that we're like way afield of what we're kind of thinking.
Right.
Because that's really our thing. It's like we want people to have, this type of research-based, posts and things like that and stuff like that. But I think when we go back, it starts with, taking care of home plus.
Taking care of home. I love that. And that's stuff that I'm really passionate about. I wonder the accountability measure of, like, we have greater accountability at home and certification. How does that translate to the accountability online with people? How would we take care of that? How do we deal with accountability for people who are practicing in our profession, but have not met those standards that we've established, let's say in the future for that?
I mean, now or with licensure, I mean, that would be the question. I mean,
yeah,
it's like, all right, well, licensure takes care of itself. You're not licensed
it's
professional.
true.
You know what I mean? And that's a red flag. Like you could look at it, you could call out all the people, say, oh, this person's not certified. This person never went to school. This person never went that. But our industry is not saying, hey, you can't participate. If anything, true. It's saying the other thing. It's saying, oh yeah, no.
Come on in.
Yeah, we want everybody to participate. We don't want to be like that. But at the same time, we're like telling you two different stories, right?
Yeah.
We're almost telling you like, hey, yeah, no, you should get certified. But we're saying, no, it's okay if you're not, because you don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. So it's like, it's not, and then some stuff is like the baseline. I think that when you look at it, online, it takes care of itself, because if you're going to say, hey, there's certain things that you can't do when you're not licensed in other fields. Like I can't just open a hair salon,
right,
and do hair myself, right? Because at some point somebody's going to come and do an inspection. And
that's exact. Hey. That's what I mean. Where's the inspection? Like if we get to that point, how do you inspect online? Is there an organization that actually inspects online professionals? Or let's say somebody's YouTube page, it's really popular and they're giving out fitness advice. Who's checking that person's credentials? I
don't think there is. It's hard. That's right. But also I also don't think that we should.
Yeah.
I think that we spend a lot of time worrying about the professionals that are doing whatever they're doing. And I think that when you look at it, the one thing that when you talked about the change and professional, right? I don't spend a lot of time like scoping out my competition. As a facility owner, right? In the past, you did, right? This person's doing this. Because the funny thing is, every so often we put together a program and then you see somebody go ahead and copy it, right? And then at first you would get frustrated by this person, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm like, if you're copying a program, I'm copying what you do. I don't know whether that's working or not.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's really very true.
And then by the time you copy somebody's stuff, they're on to the next thing. So when I look at it, the reason why I'm bringing that up is like, I don't spend a lot of time like scoping what these professionals are doing. I try to serve the needs of my people, my market, and the people who might.
Great point.
Everybody ain't gonna like you,
of course.
It's like that shirt. The best shirt that I own is like, I'm not for everyone.
I love that.
You know what I mean? It's just the truth. Like, so for us, it's something like the vibe, energy matches, right? We sit at the table, we start talking. You're like, this is my guy. And
I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy, man. I was like, you said a lot of great things, man. Actually, I was like, man, this guy, Michael Piercy, there's something there, man. I was like,
but at the same time, there's three people that are like, that guy's a jackass.
Yeah, like, I really don't like that guy.
I really don't like him. I got to deal with
side eye.
You know what I'm saying? So it's, I don't spend a lot of time I'm like, how can I serve the needs of the people that I have at hand?
Yeah.
And how can I do that in a good way? And then I'm a big authenticity type of person.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm going to do things that are authentic to me. So me doing backflips online is not going to be what I'm doing. Not what I'm doing.
No?
No. You know what I mean?
You're not going to wear a wig or something and do like
Absolutely not, man. It's like, it's like when I think about the music that I use, the things that I do, I try to do stuff that's going to be, because if you do things that are authentic to you, that's easy for you to replicate, right?
That's true.
It's easy for me to do things, and it's easy, and I don't have a problem going online and turning on the camera and doing that, because it's, natural to me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest differences, right? When you're doing things that's just because I'm trying to get a couple followers here or a like here or whatever it is, then it's hard for you got to keep that up.
That's right. That's
what I mean?
The consistency is difficult then. Yeah.
that's the biggest thing about what they used to tell you in the after school special about never lying, right?
That's right.
And people listen, one lie begets another lie.
Oh, exactly right.
And then it's like, yeah, because then you got to keep lying because, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
It's no good. It's better to just tell the truth and deal with whatever they got to say about it, and it's like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said a lot of good things. I'm telling you, I take note of stuff that people say. And I remember there was another thing you said, and I was like, he's right about this. You're like, wait a minute, I don't remember saying this stuff.
I'll just be going.
Like, and I think we're talking about like at conferences and having different tracks of different things that are not just all about like working out and stuff like that. And you said, I remember this, we may have to hurt ourselves a little bit because it may have to hurt us to change, but it's probably necessary. And I remember thinking I got to expand upon that with Michael because I really am into that idea.
Yeah, I think we were talking about getting young people into conferences and things like that. And for us, I think you've been doing things a certain way for so long, you know what I mean? But you want to open yourself up to having other people there and doing other things. And the tough thing is to change and go in that direction, you're gonna have to, bring in some things that you wouldn't do in the past. I mean, obviously you got to continue to do things that are authentic to what it is. But if you want to open it up for these other, kind of have, this new wave, it's probably, it might not be popular for a little while.
Right.
And it might not breed the revenue that you need.
Exactly.
But
let's be real about it, right?
We're back to the revenue thing, right?
Yep.
But it's having different tracks because the understanding is that this new generation is not us. We want, it's we have to think that, but they deserve a place in our industry, right?
Yes.
So in there, they'll be the ones to bend and shape it moving forward. You hope that, for me, it's my hope that it gets better,
Yeah.
But, when we look at where we are at World and doing stuff like that, having a different track where you can help bring some of them along and also have, them have mentorship, on some level to say, all right, well, this is what it is. This is how you do it. This is because we can always say we want to better our industry.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, if we don't, it's how do we do that? If
how do we do it?
If we're not willing to say we're going to do some things that we wouldn't normally do in the past. See, what my biggest issue is that this thing about getting back to where we were. And I'm not a fan of that at all.
Neither am I, man.
No, you don't get back to anything.
You never get back.
No, people will say, oh, well, is it back to everything you go through takes something out of you.
That's true.
And it's not always bad.
No.
The thing is, what it does is it shapes you, but whatever goes forward is not the same as what you left. So it's like it takes some percentage of energy from you. It changes you. I used to tell people this. It's like if you move facilities, no matter what you do, 30% of the people are not going to go. You can move right next door.
Right.
30% of people are not going to go.
It's true.
It's just the truth. Like I've never been like, hey, you go in 100% of the
like
no, it doesn't happen like that. It's because people don't like change.
That's right.
So it's like you could be the smallest thing. It's like, hey, you change the color of the toilet paper. It's like, dude,
it's a big problem for some people.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're gonna have to
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this.
Yeah, you can change the red toilet paper. What's wrong with you?
How could you?
Exactly. You have to be willing to like say, hey, these things moving forward, things have to be different. And that's the biggest thing about COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People, I think for us as an industry, there's this need of people to just try to turn it into what it was or do business as usual. And that was kind of what we were talking about this. Like now is the time to change if we're going to do anything because, you're in a weakened state. In the past, you had big conglomerates of companies that wanted to be, and this is one of the things we talk, that make money in our industry, but don't necessarily participate.
Right.
Which is the big problem, because there's a lot of money in, it's like you look at these corporate executive conventions now that you have. And you can
Sure.
say, this dude, you can look at the pictures, you don't have to see full pictures and nothing. These people do not participate actually in the industry. They have
Yes.
lots of money and they make money in fitness, lots of it, but they don't necessarily. It's akin to like Steve Jobs never actually utilizing a keyboard on the
Right.
right? It's like this person doesn't use an iPhone, but he makes lots of money off of
Right. Right.
it.
Yeah.
And that's not, for us, it's now that's the problem. A lot of times, there's a very sharp disconnect between what we do as professionals on a boots on the ground basis compared to, there's this different level of understanding, like the metrics of, the high finance game of the
Right.
industry. And that's the problem with us with things when we talk about licensure and stuff like that. In the past, these big box companies made lots of money off of the industry not being regulated.
Right.
Because I can get a 17-year-old and have them train and then have them go through, hey, sit in the office and sell personal training.
Right.
And it's easy for you to do that. Hire,
Right.
oh yeah, you like doing push-ups? Come on in. You can be a
Yeah.
trainer.
Exactly.
Like bodybuilding, come on in, you can be a trainer. And I got 10 trainers, like I want to sell training to Miss Johnson and everybody else. And that was the industry. That was the Bally's models, those, old school models that you had, right? For us, we're saying that we don't want that.
Right.
And that was, one of the biggest disconnects that I felt like during COVID was that when we went to state agencies and they're shutting down everything, the only argument we're giving them is that this helps your immune system.
Right.
I mean, don't shut our doors.
Yeah.
We're part of the solution. But when they're looking at us, they don't know the difference between the lab in New Jersey
Nope.
and Bally's Total Fitness and Crunch. They
Of
think it's all
course.
the same because they don't actually participate at all. So for us, it's up to us to say, listen, this is what we do. This is what the base is. This is the understanding of what it is, so that when we go and say we need financial assistance, they're not like, hey, no, the bars will stay open. We'll give
Right.
to the restaurants because they need it, but you guys are just like the witch doctors. You don't get it.
That's the problem. Is
Mhm.
how we're seen by people. I mean, a perfect example. This was a long time ago, but I remember when I was in college and I'm studying kinesiology, and a bunch of my buddies, they're in like marketing and they're coding and doing all this stuff. And they go, "Oh, what you do in class today? Did you learn how to do jumping jacks?" Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't think of it as like a legitimate thing.
Mhm.
And that hurts, because when you get down to it, it's not seen as an essential business. Because
Mhm.
you're right, they go, all these things are just the same,
Yeah.
even though we know they're nothing alike. Generally, they go, it's just not that important. It's a luxury item. It's just like, you don't really need that. And we're
And
struggling against that like so much, I feel.
and the truth of our conversation there, especially at World, is it's up to us to change that.
That's right.
And it's not, and the problem is we keep finding ways to say that we can't do it.
Right.
Instead of saying, all right, listen, some of it's going to hurt. We're going to have to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this is like, you're going to have less. If you close the door and say, you need to just be certified in order to do this, or you need to have,
Right.
then all of a sudden your registrations go down for conference,
Right.
or you get less people applying to present, things like that.
Right.
At the same token, you do make the application better. You make the conference better. You make it better for the industry, because now we're saying that you need to meet a specific criteria in order to participate, right?
Yeah.
And now that's going to actually increase your business, because if I
Right.
said like, hey, we all have to take this license exam, but you need to be certified. These are the 4 certifications that you can take.
Right.
I have to go take it.
Right. I have to do it.
Yeah. In the past, it was like, well, you can do it. It's gonna make
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
It's the truth. We
Right.
saying it, we're laughing, but it's the truth.
It's
like,
so true.
You can do it, and the only thing that's determining whether you do it is how good they market to you.
That's right.
That's why you have crazy stuff like, "Hey, you want to be a personal trainer?"
Yeah.
Radio, which drives me crazy.
That does drive me crazy too. But it's a crazy thing. You want to see a crazy place about personal training and fitness? Go to Reddit. I don't know if you spend any time on Reddit at all. I didn't. And I was like, I got to check out this Reddit. What's going on here? and they have this sub community. It's called personal training. And there's like 25,000 people in it. It's a huge community. And it's almost primarily brand new trainers asking questions about how to become a trainer. How do I market? It's literally, I go on there and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like they need to be coming to Worlds. We need to be mentoring all these folks. Like, why don't we have a subreddit ourselves that is catering to these group of people? I mean, like, I don't know. I think it was staggering how many trainers are on there. Staggering.
It's crazy. So for us, I think that it's on us. You know what I mean?
It's on us.
It's easy for us to look at and attack the social media train or attack this person because it's easy, because then it's like we said about before. It's like it's easy for us to just put it off and say, this is them.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not. It's us. It's how we want to be viewed and whether we want to actually take the steps to get there. And then whether we want to, you know, for us, it's like you sit on these committees, but you can talk about this forever, but you have to say, all right, you know what? I forgot what talk I was at. It was like, it was one speaker or preacher that I was listening to, and he was like, stop. You know, I love when people come up to him. He's like, somebody should do this, Pastor. Somebody should do this. He's like, you do it.
Yeah, you do it.
You do it. You know,
that's
that's what we are right now. It's time for us to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we do it? Like we keep looking around and saying, this person, he should do it. They should do it. It's only going to be a time before we say, hey, listen, you know, this is the way that we want to be viewed because we run businesses. We do things like this. You want, like you said, to walk in and be respected for the work that you do. You know, but at the same time, for us, it's a time for us coming into whatever this new thing is supposed to be, to say this is what we want. This is the way we want to be viewed by these same agencies that didn't view us with respect, and, you know, and give us the assistance we needed to make it through this thing.
Most definitely, Michael Piercy. This is a great place to end. Amazing coach, Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I am not.
He's loving the controversy.
Yes.
But I hope Cooper Rush does well. I really do. But if it doesn't go well, I'll just eat my words. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
we'll come back. We'll do a part 2.
We got to do a part 2 because we got to see how this plays out. I'm really into this controversy too, man. I'm really into it.
Let's see how it ages.
That's right. Thank you so much. Please tell everyone how they could connect with you.
We talked about social media, so you can hit me on Instagram at Michael Piercy. You can go to www.mikepiercy.com or you can go to thelabsports.com. Either one would be great. I appreciate your time, brother. Appreciate you having me and thinking highly enough of me. I'm honored to be on.
Yes, man. There was something about you. I sat there and said, I have to talk to this guy a little bit more. I got to find out what's going on here. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. You have a good day. I appreciate it. Definitely. Thank you so much.